Okay, well, let's anything, John? Okay. All right, give it a few minutes. Let's see. Listen in and let's see what happens. Okay.
Yeah, I'm listening on the phone for what? I'll listen in.
Okay. So I'm getting a green here, so should be. Hello, Jonathan.
All right, I'm going to hang up here. Call me back if we lose you.
Okay.
I'm getting a green here, so.
Yeah, it's delayed.
Okay.
It's delayed. Okay.
Bye.
All right. So we're going to deal with Zach's question of last week. So first of all, what was Zach's question of last week? Anybody remember?
How can we check for the
Right,
after the shkita happens?
Okay. So we know what we learned is that you have to check the simanim after you do shchita in order to make sure that rov of the simanim were cut, or rov of the simanim were cut. So the way in which you check the simanim, sorry guys, we're losing you. Okay. So we said the way in which you check the simanim is to actually either look at the simanim, hey Leo, to actually either look at the simanim or to feel the simanim. You can feel the simanim. Also, put that right there. Okay. You can feel the simanim also to make sure and to see whether or not the simanim were cut. And we said the issues that we're worried about with someone who doesn't know Hilchos Shchita is that he won't know whether he did a drasa and he won't know whether he did a shehiyah. But only if someone knows what those halachos are is he sensitive to those halachos. But without knowing what those halachos are, we don't know whether or not he's sensitive. We assume he's not sensitive to those halachos, and therefore what happens? And therefore, were he to do a shchita without being supervised, it would be seemingly impossible to know, as the Gemara points out about shehiyah and about drasa. So Zach asked the question, okay, I understand about shehiyah and I understand about drasa, that makes a lot of sense. But how can you tell by examining, if you examine afterwards, what can you tell?
Well, you can tell if it's the right place. So
okay,
Hagrama,
Hagrama you can check for.
Ikor
Good.
you can check the knife.
Ikor you can check the knife.
Perhaps.
Okay.
Ikor you can check both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? And
So the only one left is chalada. So Zach's question was, what about chalada? How is it possible for you to check and see whether or not there was chalada? So what we have to let's just begin. We're actually going to see another Gemara tonight, but let's just begin by defining chalada. What is chalada?
Furrowing of the knife.
Burrowing.
The burrowing of the knife.
Yeah.
Okay? So there are two ways in which you could theoretically do chalada. Okay? One is if you burrow the knife between the two simanim. Okay? In other words, you have your kana and you have your voshet. You have to be very good to do this, right? You have your kana and you have your voshet, and you burrow the knife between the kana and voshet.
Okay.
Okay? So that's one type of...
I don't even know how you could do that.
You could go this way. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, right, in other words, in other words, if you think about it, it's not so easy to do. How
Not
do you...
in them, between them.
Of course, you can't do it in them. You have to do it between them. In other
Right.
words, you have to...
And you lose them.
All right?
So you don't see the knife because it's between the two.
Between the two.
Right, so, but remember, chalada, right, chalada is about not seeing the knife, that's
Right.
true, but there's two different concepts of chalada. One is between the two simanim. Now, again, from a practical perspective, there has to be a way to sort of like move the neck so that you separate out the two simanim. This is something you have to check with Rabbi Likey. It's beyond my pay grade.
Listen, there's some birds where the simanim are not on top of each other either, right?
Right.
You move.
Doves,
So if you can move them apart so that the simanim are not on top of each other, maybe by manipulating the neck so that the simanim are not on top of each other, and you can burrow the knife in, all right? So then you can cut the simanim that way. That's one type of chalada, between the simanim and cutting the simanim that way.
Okay.
Another type of chalada is burying the knife in front of the simanim in front of both simanim and cutting that way, right? In other words, it's you can't imagine it on an oaf because there's not enough skin on an oaf to do that. But there certainly is enough skin on a behemoth to do that, right? If you have a behemoth, you could literally burrow the knife, right? You could pull the skin down, burrow the knife in the skin, right? And then then cut the simanim in the normal way, cutting the simanim in the normal way.
Yes.
So how could you then tell whether or not there was a chalada in both of these situations? And by the way, we're assuming for the time being that neither of these is kosher. We'll see. It's not so clear.
Must be through a puncture wound as opposed to a straight cut is the only thing I can
If
think
the
of.
skin is not completely cut where you went in,
You
it's
have
not
a
100%
hole.
guaranteed though.
The hole
Well, first of
might
all,
be
it's
on the
very
side.
hard to make a hole. In other words, that's why we don't use sharp. Right? Why don't we use pointed knives? We don't use pointed knives. Ikor, but we also don't use pointed knives because of chalada, right? Because if you have a
the tip
pointed
goes
knife,
in.
it's easy to puncture, right? It's much more
so I get
complicated
it, I
to
get it.
puncture with a,
So essentially you can make an incision like that and then stick the knife in. cut the simanim.
That's exactly what you're doing,
Right, if you
right?
want to save, there's part of the Sunnah Chadasha where it says if you want to
No,
save the
never saw
skin,
I don't know.
that's when you learn, that's what he said. It's like someone may try to save the skin of an animal.
No.
Right, if you
I
want
got you.
Because the fewer cuts you have,
Right, which you're not allowed to do.
which you're allowed to do. So theoretically you can...
Wait, but once you make a cut,
No,
Right.
but say you have a big cow, right? And you want the skin for leather.
yeah,
You can either chop it like this
yeah,
and make a big gash.
yeah,
Or if you make a little
A little hole.
pinhole
yeah.
And then
cut
stick the
everything
knife
from
in.
that, then
But
magically...
isn't it a tray for once you make that pinhole?
No, in the skin, no.
no, why would
The skin,
a
no.
hole in the
The skin,
pinhole
you're
make
allowed.
no, right?
Because you don't know whether you touched the corner of Vesha.
No, you're in the
You know,
process.
You're in the process.
You could let's say you
That's
you
what
checked
you
it with a
do as an
steak
example.
knife.
Okay.
You could just let's assume that the steak. You could just stick the knife. You could just jab in and then cut the simanim and cut it, and that's why.
But then that's
So
borrowing.
you're gonna have a
Yeah, that's what we're trying to say.
Okay, so the one
So you're gonna
problem
have
with
a
live
puncture
broadcasting,
wound.
I don't know if you guys, I don't know Natan if you're there or John if you're there, but we can't hear you. So if you have any suggestions, or anything
in.
that you want to say, I guess
Phone
you
a
have
friend.
to, you have to let us, you have to sort of let us know. They're both watching. I can tell that they're both watching, but I can't tell, or I can tell two people are watching. Maybe one of you here is watching. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to do that. Let's see if that is that one of them, or we're
they're
good.
just saying they're
Okay, they're good.
they're good.
Okay, they're
Tom
good.
from Wisconsin on the line who has a question.
Okay.
So it would be a puncture. Is that what it is? It would be a puncture wound?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it would. So there would be. In other words, how could you tell this? You could tell this afterwards by examining the skin by the neck. In other words, if you examine the skin by the neck, you can tell whether or not
There was a real shkita.
you could tell whether or not there was a
The
frontal
size
cut.
of the cut.
Right. You could tell whether or not there was a frontal cut.
Yes.
What about being covered by
Zach,
the
you're the one who
feathers?
told me this.
What?
I didn't think
What
of
about
that.
the feathers? What if the knife
What
is
if,
completely
what about
covered by the feathers?
what about covered by the feathers, or what about covered, let's say,
Zach,
by
you're the one who
the
told me about this with
or-
the Chinese.
right, or let's say
Right, well,
covered.
that's puncture
Well, not
then.
covered by feathers, but that was Zach's question about doing shechita with an arrow. In other words, the Gemara talks about the possibility of doing shechita with an arrow. I don't know what happened there. Right, the Gemara talks about the possibility of doing shechita with an arrow. So I don't know. Right, I couldn't find that Gemara. The Gemara is somewhere,
You have to
it's somewhere in
remember where
Chulin.
it
I'm
is.
not exactly sure where it is.
I don't even know if it's in
Right,
Poland.
but the question of doing shechita with an arrow, theoretically, if you were so good that you could shoot an arrow and the arrow had like a razor sharp. Why don't you take that? I'm just going to use another book here. Right, the arrow had like a razor sharp blade, and that razor sharp blade.
We're at 9.
Right. Okay, that's good. We're good. Yeah, back it up just a little bit. Okay. There you go. Okay. Thank you, Leo. Okay, that razor sharp blade went ahead and no, we're good. That razor sharp blade went ahead and cut through the kana and the veshes. So theoretically, you could do that. I
But
want
if the tip of the arrow hit, you'd
Oh,
have a
so
puncture.
that's-
You'd have a
So that's the
You'd
point.
have the puncture
That's the
again.
point of hagra. That's the point of chalada.
Right.
In other words, so we're going to see. We're going to jump up in the Gemara. Go to Daf Lamed. Guys, if you have questions here, text Bart, okay? Either you guys have questions, text Bart, and we'll bring them up and we'll discuss them, okay?
Now where are we going? Where are we?
Lamed.
Daf Lamed, okay? Okay, so
Top of the page?
well, we're gonna go. I think. Let's see. We're on Lamed Amud Beis.
What was that? That's
Lamed Amud Beis.
30B1.
30b1, right? The Gemara here has a whole discussion. I mean, ultimately, we'll come to it. The Gemara here has a whole discussion about doing. Right, about doing shchita. You have two people doing shchita, right? If you have two people doing shchita, is it considered a good shchita? What if you have two people holding the knife? What if you have shchita in two different places? The Gemara, you're all familiar with this from the Simla Chadash.
yes.
This is the Gemara that's the source for those halachos. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna continue with the Gemara Lamed Amud Beis. The Gemara says as follows. So Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 lines, 10 or 11 lines down from the top. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav. Hechlid es hasakin bein simen l'simen. Right? You have it, Bart? Everybody's got it? Lamed Amud Beis 30b1. 30b1, 10 lines down. First word on the line is Amar. Maybe it's 11
Amar
lines down,
Rav,
right?
yeah.
So Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Hechlid es hasakin bein siman l'siman. You burrowed the knife between the simanim. Upasku. And what happened? And you cut the simanim that way. So psula. What do we say about such a shchita? A shchita is pasal. That is chalada. That's the definition of chalada. Okay. Now, what about the following? Tachas ha'or. All right. What if you did the chalada? You put the knife tachas ha'or. In other words, under the skin here, right? You made a little slice over here. You put the knife under the skin. You pulled the skin out. You put the knife under the skin. So now you can shech normally, right? So tachas ha'or ksheira,
Really?
right? So tachas ha'or ksheira. We'll see. We'll see how the halacha paskins, right? But let's learn the Gemara first. So tachas ha'or ksheira. So the Gemara goes through here now a whole discussion as to why is Rav saying this? My Kamash Malan, what does Rav come to teach me? Tanina, I already learned in a previous brisa. Oh, shehechlid es hasakin tachas hasheni upasku. That is, what did you do? You this is a Gemara on Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. It's actually a Mishnah. We can jump up to Lamed Beis. Go to Lamed Beis Amud Aleph 32a. 32a. 32a, and it is going to be 32a3 or 32a4. 32a4 is where we'll find the Mishnah. Here, the Mishnah says as follows. So we'll look at the whole Mishnah from the beginning. What does the Mishnah there say? Shachat es havoshet or haveshet, right? You cut the veshet properly. What's the veshet? The trachea or the esophagus?
Esophagus.
Right, correct.
Kana.
Right, the veshet is the esophagus, which is in front.
Kana.
The kana is in front.
Right, the kana is in front, okay? So, shachat es haveshet, you shechted the veshet properly. However, upasak es hargargeres. And what did you do? You tore the gargeres. What's the gargeres here? The gargeres is the trachea, right? That they're calling it. We call it the kana. They're calling it the gargeres here. We'll see that we'll come here. We'll learn the difference. Oh, pasak es hargargeres, or you cut the gargeres. V'achar kach shachat es haveshet. And then what did you do afterwards? Then afterwards you did a clean cut on the veshet. Okay. Oh, a third possibility. O shachat echad mehen. You cut one of them. Vihimtin lo ad shemesa. And what did you do? You waited for the behemoth, for the animal to die. In other words, you could shecht one of them and wait for the animal to die. Right? If you shecht the kana, what's going to happen?
It will die.
The animal's gonna. You don't have to touch the veshet. Don't touch the veshet. You just shecht the kana. Just cut the kana. What's going to happen? Ultimately, the animal's going to die because there's no air. The animal can't get any air into its lungs. The animal's going to die. It'll take a long time, but the animal's going to die. Oh, or these are all of these things are puzzle. Right? If you do any of these things, the shechita is psula. Oh, shehechlid es hasakin. What do? You burrow the knife tachas hasheni under the second siman, or it's behind, right? You behind the second siman, upasku, and you cut it. In each of these cases, there's a machlokas, whether it's a treifa or whether it's a nevela, right? But we just learned about chalada here, right? So the Gemara.
Just to clarify, burying it under the second siman. Like, let's say you have a goose or even a cow. You grab the two simanim, you lift up, you jab your knife underneath, and then cut outwards.
You're cutting backwards. In other words, generally when we cut, we cut what we call milamala limata, from top to bottom, right? Think of a bird, right?
You're cutting towards the spine.
Or an animal. Right? You guys don't. You go on shecht animals.
Yeah,
when you do shecht animal, when you've seen animal shechted, the animal is lying down, right? And you're cutting. Well, right, correct. All right, you're cutting mila. All right, if you're really good, the animal is hanging up. That's a real challenge. But you're cutting.
We had a French guy who wanted us to
Squat on it.
stand over the animal.
Yeah.
Stand over the animal.
What?
Yeah.
But the animal was on its back, though.
No.
The animal was
He
how?
made us do yoga.
Sitting.
Standing.
Standing.
The animal was standing.
The animal was
You don't
standing on
wanna
its
see
toe
this.
fours. We lift the head up and that.
And he wanted us to do by ourselves.
And where were you?
Standing over him.
Like a yoga.
How'd that go?
It
Not
it
well.
went, it went well till
If you slipped, you could be a mile also.
went well till I was at the
Okay, so you have this, right?
Galloped away!
Okay, so you have this. So you have a Mishnah already, which is telling me about chalada. So what do I need this? Right, we're back now on Lamed Amid Beis.
Wait, but this one, Lamed Beis, right? That's not talking about chalada.
It just says what? It just says oh hechlid, right? The Gemara, the Mishnah here on Lamed Beis says, oh, the last case that it gives, oh shehechlid es asakin tachas hasheni upasku,
What's pasku?
and cut.
So what's interesting is the English, right?
Go ahead. What does the English say?
English refers to pasak as tor, which would be a ikor violation.
Wait a second. Hold on. He burrowed the knife. No.
32a, unless I'm in the
You're
wrong
looking.
place.
You're looking at the wrong place, right? The English says, right? Oh shehechli, he burrowed the knife under the second pipe and cut it from back to front. That's what it's. Pasak means to cut it. I'm not sure what you're looking at.
A or B.
Wrong either.
Yeah.
32A4.
You want to put this amount on the 32A4. Lamed Bet Aleph.
32a4. Oh, because the first one, if it's shachat the bishop, upasak et
Right,
gargeret.
that's talking.
This part
Oh, right.
is here.
Pasak. There we're talking about Torah. That's not what it means here.
So okay, so the same kind of word though it changes.
That's
It's
correct. That's in this Mishnah it does. It's a whole discussion, but in this Mishnah it does. Okay, so we have already a Mishnah that tells us about chalada.
Gotcha.
So the Gemara jump back now to Lamed Amid Beis to 30b1, which is where we were. So this Gemara says, wait a second. What is Rav coming? What do I need this for? What's Rav coming to tell me? I already learned in the Mishnah. Oh, shehechli des asakin tachas hasheni upasku. Rabbi Yeshave Omer Nevela, Rabbi Akiva Omer Treifa. So the Gemara is now going to answer, and the Gemara says, I mimas nisan. If we learn about chalada only from that Mishnah. In other words, let's say Rav would have not said a word here about chalada. The only source for chalada would have been the Mishnah that we learned on Lamed Beis. So then, Hava Amina, I would have said, Hani Mili Milamata Lamala. Right? I would have said, when is chalada not good? When it is milamata lemala, when it's going opposite the direction that we normally shecht. Normally we shecht milamala lemata. Here it's talking about a shechita which goes milamata lemala. You're sawing upwards, so to speak. Okay, which is also hard not to do a drasa under those circumstances. Very hard not to do a drasa. Okay, we're talking about somebody who's very skilled, right? Very skilled in yoga, skilled in this, not in okay.
The guy at Lily's could do it.
Okay, so hani mili milamata lemala delo ka'avid kederech shchita, and the reason that we say it's puzzle over there, it's because it's shalo kederech shchita. It's not the way in which shchita is normally done. Aval milamala lamata, right? But if you burrow the knife in and you cut it milamala lamata, de ka'avid kederech shchita, that you did it kederech shchita. Ema, I would say shapir dami. I would say what? I would say that it's considered a valid shchita if you did that, right? In other words, if I just had that Mishnah on Lamed Beis, which talks about burrowing and shechting milamata lamal, I would have thought that's the problem. But what about if I burrow and shecht milamala lamata? So what's the halacha with that? So kamash malan. So here, I need Rav to come along and tell me that chalada is not a function of whether I'm going milamata lamala or milamala lamata. So we'll see. Okay? Now, so we go back to the question which was asked. The Gemara said, Tachas ha'or kishera. Right? If you shechted by putting the knife tachas ha'or, burying the knife under the skin, so what did Rav say? Right? Burying the knife under the skin and cutting it, the shchita is valid, right? Even though you did a chalada, if you burrowed the knife in front, like we mentioned before, you pull out the skin, you burrow the knife in, and then you do a proper shchita, milamala lamata. So, right? So what's the halacha about that? So, tachas ha'or kshera. If Rav said it was shchet, it was kshera. Bei Rav Amrei, right? However, the yeshiva of Rav, when discussing the same question, says tachas ha'or eini yodeya. I don't know. I mean, Rav said tachas ha'or is good, but his yeshiva said, I don't know. I don't know why he said it's good. Maybe it's not. Ibai luhu lebei Rav. Right? They asked the question, Lebei Rav, the Amrei, Tachas or Eni Odea, Tachas matlis mahu. What about if you shecht Tachas matlis? What's a matlis? A matlis is a cloth. In other words, let's say that the animal that there's a cloth or even a bandage on the animal's neck, and you burrow the knife under that bandage, and you can't see the knife now, right? Yeah. And you shecht. So is it good or not? So they asked Bei Rav, and what did Bei Rav say? So Bei Rav said under these circumstances, Tachas matlis mahu, or Tachas semer mesubach mahu. Or let's say the animal has matted hair, right? Not skin, matted
fur.
That's not fur. What's it called?
Wool,
right? Matted wool. Like, let's say you're shechting a sheep, and right here in the Beis HaShchita, so the wool is very matted. You can't part it, right? You can't. Normally, you would have to part it to get down to the skin to see the skin. Here, you can't part it. So you burrow your knife in, right, in through the wool. You bury your knife in through the wool, and you do your shechita that way. Again, you can't see the knife, right? So they asked that question to Bei Rav Mahu. So Bei Rav answered, Teku. We don't know. Right, we're not sure. Teku. Bei Rav Papa hechlid b'miut simani mahu teku. Right? So, in other words, what's the bottom line here? The bottom line is, even though Rav said it's kshera, when they asked in the yeshiva and they said, what's the story? The answer was, we don't know. Teku. Right, we're not sure. What's the halacha? Because we say teku in all of these situations, what's the halacha? It's a suffix chalada. What's a suffix chalada? Suffix chalada is a suffix in a midioraisa, and a suffix in a midioraisa is not good. So that's why chalada across the board is not good. So even if you were to burrow it right in here, right where you couldn't see it and check, Rav might eat the meat, but nobody else would eat the meat, right? Nobody else would eat the meat. So, right, so that's the concept of chalada, which is why the question about the arrow. Now, so if you're looking at the skin, you can see whether or not there was a chalada by looking to see where the cut is. Because if you're cutting directly here, right, you can see the cut. So you have this, right? Let's go back to the Gemara that we're up to. You have this guy. This guy doesn't know Hilchos Shchita, but you've seen him do. You watched him do Shchita. He shechted fine, right? From the look of things, he shechted fine. So now what happens? So now he's not here. You're not watching him, and he shechs, and you don't know what Did he shech properly or did he not shech properly? I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. So
check for the puncture wound.
So you can check for the puncture wound. That's why the Gemara says just right drasa and shehiyah. Those are the only things we're about. Hi Simon, how are you? Right, just drasa and shehiyah. Drasa and shehiyah we can't check. Right, that's why we have to know that the guy knows the halachos. Because if he knows the halachos, we'll know he'll be sensitive to it. If he doesn't know the halachos, we don't know. We don't know.
Right.
But to answer Zach's question from last week, we can actually check for chalada.
Right.
Can examine the skin and check for chalada.
What happens if feathers cover it?
What happens if feathers
cover the shchita? So if like the feathers somehow, right? I guess you would see a clear cut over here, and all the feathers.
Well, what
would get
happens
cut as
when
well.
you pull back the neck? Right, the feathers. What happens to the feathers? The feathers roll up.
Right.
Right, the feathers roll up and reveal the neck. You can do that. So you're saying what happens if?
What happens if he actually cut underneath? Meaning he doesn't know the laws.
That's the story. That's the story of the matted wool. It's the same thing.
So the matted wool is
It's
no
a suffix.
good.
It's a suffix.
It's no good.
We don't know that it's no good. We say it's a suffix. We don't know. Right?
But it's a suffix deraita, so we
So lo halacha we say it's not
okay.
good. So lo halacha we say it's not good. Okay, good.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Well, it's the same like a tie gets in between you and while you're shechting.
A tie? Your tie.
Your tie.
Go
Or a
ahead.
fly gets in the way between you and shechting and it blocks it. But there it's a little
You don't know.
blocks your vision. We don't
Simcha
know.
not
Dasha
good.
talks about it.
Yeah, it says it's not good.
If you don't
Can't see the knife.
right,
it's
if
no
you
good.
can't see the knife, it's no good.
Right.
There was something where if a
But-
cloth fell while you were shechting, it would be okay. No, seriously.
Okay, we'll come to the we'll come to the particulars, but the whole thing began. Why did the whole thing begin? Began because Zach asked this question. Okay, let's go back to our Gemara.
Okay. Now we're on.
Going back to the original.
We're going back to the original 9. What was it? 9
9-3.
9-3 9A3. Okay.
3 now?
We did.
9-8-3.
Okay, 9A3. Okay. Okay, 9A3. So Simon, you can actually catch the first part of this. It's supposed to be archived on the video, so you can go there and check it out. I don't know if it'll really be archived. I don't know if it really works or it just. Okay. So let's go back. So 9A3, we're coming back to where we were, and okay. Okay, we're gonna go actually a little. We're gonna go a little bit further.
It says, right, if a towel is temporarily placed on the neck of the animal, and the cloth fell from the shulchet on the place where he is shechting, one should be careful lechatchila, but b'diavad the meat is permitted.
Because you saw it as you
saw
began.
it falling down.
Right, you saw it as you began, right. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go back to actually 9A2. Okay. So, right, so we're going to go back to 9A2. V'amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Okay, Avamar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. That is the top of the gray bar. V'amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Hatabach tzarech sheyivdok b'simanim la'achar shchita. Right, what does the shochet have to do? The shochet has to check the simanim achar shchita.
After the shchita.
Right now, so you know how you do that. You know, you push, right? You push it up, and when you push it up, what happens? The
Pops
simanim pop out, and you can
See 'em.
generally check and make sure that they're okay. Okay. So Amar Rav Yosef. What does Rav Yosef say? Right. Amar Rav Yosef. Af anan nami tanina. So we also learned a similar halacha, and what is that? Rabbi Shimon Amar. Rabbi Shimon says, Im shaha kidei bikur. Im shaha kidei bikur mai. What's the halacha? So what does shaha kidei bikur mean? I mean, shaha means to pause,
When you're checking.
right? You pause kidei bikur, right? In order to line it up. You right? You, thank you very much. I'm not sure where that came from, but Yeshukov, thank you. Right? You paused, right? Hold on. Maybe we have a question here. Let's see. Is that a question? That is a question from Jonathan. Jonathan said hello 22 minutes ago. Jonathan, hello, how are you? Good. I don't know how to get rid of it, but nice to have you with us. Okay. just sort of pops up. I don't know. Okay. Just went away. Okay. So here the case is Shaha Kidei Bikur. So let's try to figure out we know Shahiyah itself is not good, but what is Shaha Kidei Bikur? What does that mean? So look at Rashi. Rashi is literally about 4 lines down from this case, right? So Shaha Kidei Bikur. Im Shaha Kidei Bikur, Rashi says, Vuhu Shi'ur Shehiyah. In other words, what is the Shi'ur of Shehiyah? What's the Shi'ur of Shehiyah? You guys are all
You
shochting.
can't pause.
What does
How
word shiur
long
mean?
Shi'ur? What's the time? What's the interval of Shehiyah?
Depends what.
Depends
what kind of-
nothing.
It depends what type of animal.
Right.
For
Is it a
offal-
bird? The other one, they say it's the cutting without
mammals, it's
preparation.
longer.
For mammals, it's longer. For mammals, it's
The amount of time it takes.
Shalom Aleichem Rabbi or something like that is the time it takes you to actually.
But for birds, we don't really even allow a split second anymore.
Right, lahalacha, right? We're talking here. This is a little bit different here. We're
It's training.
this is we're pre halacha here. The reason we're so makpid,
Until now, it's
right? The reason we're so makpid on shehiyah is because we don't really know the shear. So that's why we say the slightest pause
Right.
is gonna passel the shechita. But in actuality, right? In actuality, that's not necessarily the case. Okay, not necessarily the
Natan
case.
says any time pause.
Well, that's what we're saying. That's the whole.
Natan,
bird.
you could,
That's a
you
bird.
could, you
That's
could,
the
Natan, you
halacha.
could send it over here. We could,
But what?
you know.
I remember it was something.
Does she has any
For how
pause?
long- no,
Who's got
no,
simla
that's the
chadasha?
halacha.
As
That's
long as
a
it takes
halacha.
you to shech the animal.
Correct.
To pick up a knife and shech the animals, I think what the Simon
Right.
Dasha
Prep
says.
time doesn't count.
Prep time not counting.
As long as the time it takes to shut down, you're allowed that exact time as a pause as well. Yes, that's what it was. Yes,
Right.
Yes.
So
And for
the
a-
halacha, right? So the halacha
And
For an
is
animal, for
And
an
if you
animal
pause
slaughter.
multiple times, you have to add them all
animals,
together.
right. So the halacha, right? The halacha is if you pause long enough to check the simanim, right? It's not good.
No way.
So we know the shechita is
that's
not good,
way-
right? That's way too long, right? If you pause,
Especially
that's
watching our
right.
guys.
That's what the Gemara, right? The Gemara says that's what the right.
minutes.
Right? The Gemara says Shaha that if you waited Kidei Bikur, right? So it's no good. That's Rabbi Shimon's statement. It's puzzle. So says the Gemara, My lav Kidei Bikur Simanim. So are we not talking about Bikur Simanim? In other words, what does it say? Shaha Kidei Bikur. You wait long enough Kidei Bikur to do a Bikur, to do a check. So what's our thought, our first thought?
Checking the Simanim.
Right, my love, this must be talking about Kidei Bikur Simanim. Isn't this about Kidei Bikur Simanim? Right? So the Gemara says, Amar le Abaye, Abaye says, Lo. No, we're not talking about Bikur Simanim. So if we're not talking about Bikur Simanim, what are we talking about? So Hachi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kidei Bikur Chacham. What are we talking about? Kidei Bikur Chacham. What is Kidei Bikur Chacham? Right? So look at Rashi. Look at Rashi. What is Kidei Bikur Chacham? So Rashi says, Livdok Hasakin. to check the knife. Shehatabach tzarich laharos hasakin lo chacham ha'ir mipnei kvod ha'chacham, which we learned earlier. Kida amrina and lekaman, right? We learned it earlier. We're going to see it again in the Gemara. Af algav shehatabach baki behilchos bedika. In other words, how long does it take to check a knife?
A while.
I'm not talking about, a new, somebody who,
But you're supposed to check it 12 times
12 times.
before you check.
Right?
So,
So,
That's
to properly check it, Natan, 30 minutes. For us,
hold on, we
probably
have,
around a minute.
let's see, we have a, I don't know what the heck. Natan just said any pause. Thank you, guys. Any pause while shechting. Thank you, Natan. We got it. About 20 minutes.
It's a time machine.
It's a time delay. No, there's a time delay on this. That's okay. Okay. So,
Nathan just said, hi, Leo.
okay. So I'm a Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan said, Kidei Bikor Chacham. We're not talking about as long as it takes to check the simanim. We're talking about as long as it takes to check the knife. Look at note 17.
That's just reading that.
Okay? Note 17. Before slaughtering, a butcher should ask the greatest scholar in town to inspect his knife out of deference to the scholar. Rabbi Yochanan is stating that when the Mishnah measures the length of a pause in terms of an inspection, right? Even though we paskin halacha lemaisa, as Natan correctly pointed out, that any shihiyah invalidates the shchita, that's not what the Gemara says, right? We'll have to learn how we go from this Gemara to what we paskin, but the Gemara says the only shihiyah which passes the shchita is a shihiyah kidei bikur. We thought that meant initially a shihiyah kidei bikur simani. The Gemara is saying, no, it's talking about a shir kidei bedikas saki. Rabbi Yochanan is stating that when the Mishnah measures the length of a pause in terms of an inspection, it refers not to an inspection of the pipes as previously assumed, but rather to this knife inspection. In other words, for a shchita to be invalidated through pausing, the pause must be long enough for the slaughterer to bring his knife to the local scholar and for the scholar to inspect it. That's crazy. Right?
It's a long amount of time.
That's a long amount of time,
then they're
right?
saying, yeah.
Right, it's a long amount of time, but we'll see.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say.
Okay, that's right. That's a long amount of time, right? So says the Gemara now. Im kain, if this is the case, nasata divarecha l'shiurim. So this is a very famous phrase. Nasata divarecha l'shiurim. What does nasata divarecha l'shiurim mean? So Rashi says, Pa'amim shehachacham rachok mehatabach pa'amim shehu karov. In other words, imagine what's the shear of shehiyah? What's the shear? As long as it takes for you to take the knife to go to the chacham and to have the chacham check the knife, right? Inspect it. Well, it all depends. Let's say the chacham's sitting where Leo is. Let's say Leo's the chacham, right? Leo is the chacham, and I just have to go like this, and Leo's checked the knife. But let's say Jared's upstairs in his attic, and he's the chacham, and I got to schlep up to his attic now to get the knife checked, right? So that's a longer shehiyah. So nasata divarecha l'shiurim. If you're saying that the shear of shehiyah is bedikas simanim, bedikas chacham, so it's not clear because it's not a set amount because it depends where the chacham is. If the chacham is close, it's one length of time. If the chacham is far away, it's a longer length of time. Now, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to the chacham to ask him to check the knife. It's a shear of how long that would take. How long that would take. Okay, so back to the Gemara. So, im kain nasata devaracha l'shiurim ella, but rather when we say kidei bikur, what are we talking about? Kidei bikur tabach. We're talking about kidei bikur tabach. What does kidei bikur tabach mean?
It's like when
Long enough.
to check it.
I'm sorry. Kidei bikur tabach chacham. All right, long enough for a tabach chacham to check it.
Actually look at it.
What does that mean? So Rashi says shahashochet talmid chacham v'ein mufla ba'ir mimenu kolomar lo talui hashir ella b'shehiyah b'dikas sakin lechudei. In other words, what are we saying? The guy himself is the chacham, so he doesn't have to go anywhere. In other words, right? How long does it take to go to the chacham to get your?
But he's the chacham.
He's the chacham, right?
How long does it take to check?
How long does it take? Right,
Right.
right. No, so what we're saying. So that's why the halacha. That's why the halacha here is saying that ultimately, what is the shear of shehiyah going to be? That ultimately the shear of shehiyah is going to be
Inspecting the knife.
right, inspecting the knife. Right. Okay. Let's see. We got another comment here. I have no idea what this is. Okay.
Hi, Simon.
12 times each side, Natan. 1 hour, the rest of us. Oh, so 12 sides each time. Natan, 1 hour, the rest of us 3 minutes. Okay. Okay. All right.
So, just a
Thank
question.
you, Natan. Okay.
So why does it start? Why doesn't
That was like
it
10
just
minutes
say,
ago, what?
you know, as long as it takes you to check, as long as it takes a shochet? Like, why is it just
No,
work
so-
just to say let?
No. In other words, what happened? It said kidei bedika, right? That's what the Mesorah is. The Mesorah was kidei bedika. What don't we know? We don't know what kidei bedika meant.
Okay.
When they originally said it, people knew what it meant. Now the Gemara is struggling to read, to understand. What did they mean when they said kidei bedika? Could it mean kidei bikas simanim? That doesn't make any sense, right? What about kidei bikur chacham? That's nasata devarecha l'shiurim. So it must be kidei bikur taba chacham. In other words, you're the guy, right? If you pause long enough to show yourself the knife, that's considered too much. That invalidates the shechita.
Sense.
Okay. So the Gemara now asks the following question: Lo badak mai, right? Lo badak mai. You didn't check, right? You didn't check the simanim. You did the shechita. You didn't check the simanim, and now you want to know: can you eat the behema? Can you eat the oaf? Right? What do you do? Can you eat it? Okay. In other words, is bidikas simanim only a lechatchila, or is bidikas simanim liikuva? In other words, if it say it's only a lechatchila, means optimally you have to check the simanim. But if you didn't check the simanim, you could still eat from the shechita. Or it bidikas simanim is liikuva, that you have to check the simanim, and if you didn't check the simanim, you can't eat the animal. So that's what we're going to say. Lo badak mai. You didn't check the simanim mai. What's the halacha? Rabbi Eliezer ben Antigonos, Mishum Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yanai Amar Treifa. In other words, if you didn't check, so then the animal now has the status of a treifa. Va'asura be'achila. And what is it? It's asur be'achila. It's a treifa, and you're not allowed to eat the animal. Okay. B'masnisa tani. In our Mishnah, what did we learn? Nevela umitama bimasa, right? So one opinion is that it's a treifa. The other opinion is that it's a nevela. We learned that, right? We learned there was a nevela back in the Mishnah. Where is the Mishnah that we saw this first? No, we'll find it. Back in the Mishnah. So it said it's a nevela and umitame b'masa. So b'mai kamifligi. What are they arguing about? Right. One opinion says it's a treifa. The other opinion says it's a nevela. So b'mai kamifligi. What are they arguing about? They're arguing bid the Rav Huna. They're arguing about Rav Huna. The Amar, because Rav Huna said as follows: Behema b'chayeha. That an animal which is alive, becheskas isur omedes, ad sheyodea lecha, bima nishchata. Right. That what are we saying? That an animal. In other words, what does shchita do? Shchita cancels the chazaka. In other words, the chazaka of the animal is that it is alive, right? We have to assume that this chazaka continues until we can prove that the chazaka no longer exists. How do we prove that the chazaka no longer exists? By checking the simanim, right? If we check the simanim and we see the simanim were cut,
Then we know.
right? Then we know that the chazaka that the animal is alive is no longer true. Because we know once the simanim have been cut, the animal can no longer be alive. It's impossible. Once the simanim are cut, we attribute any motion from the animal to merely pirchus. Right? The animal is not defined as alive. We might be machmir, during pirchus, not to, like, while there's pirchus going on, can you slice off a piece of flesh and eat it?
You theoretically can. But
Theoretically you can, but
So
we're
what
not.
the Dutcher calls it disgusting.
But
Right?
But the
So that was from a fish.
No.
Fish
No,
you
fish
can
you
let
can't.
alive.
Fish
You
is
don't
no
even
problem
have to
with.
kill.
Right? Fish is no problem with.
While it's alive?
Yes.
I thought it was defined as disgusting.
no.
Could be alive and you could slice a
Those
piece
of
off
us
and
in
eat
No.
it.
The goyim. The
Right?
goyim
But this actually goes back to what Yosef and his brothers, what was going on between Yosef and his brothers. Yosef came back to his father and said, Daddy, my brothers are eating Aver Minachai.
Yeah.
Right? And what did Yosef see? He saw them slice off an aver, slice off a limb from an animal, right, that was still moving around. So he thought it was aver min hachai. What was it actually? It was actually during pirchus, right? And technically speaking, to eat an aver from an animal following shchita, but during pirchus, is not considered aver min hachai. It's considered a davar meguna, right? It's not something that.
It's actually one of the only places. I remember when we discussed this. It's an odd situation because for a goy it is aver, right? So for a goy.
For a goy, it is aver
for a
min
goy,
hachai.
it's still
Yes,
aver min hachai.
correct.
It actually
But
becomes
why
a
Correct.
is that?
Remember we talked about
I do
this.
remember. It's the
a very,
weird. It's the last
it's a very
chapter.
strange scenario.
And
it's
but
odd.
why?
Just the way the laws work. Kosher only works for us. It doesn't work for them. It doesn't change their status. So if it's still moving, it's alive.
In other words,
For us-
shchita, for us, shchita is the definition
right,
of
it changes.
death. For them, the definition of death is no more movement.
Right, dead.
Dead. What we commonly call dead. Right? The chicken running around the yard for us might be dead, but for them is still alive. Right?
Got it. Okay.
Okay. And that's the whole machlokes, that were the brothers following the laws of Ben Noach, or were the brothers following the laws of, mitzvos? Okay. Okay. So we say that the reason we're trying to understand what the machlokes is between whether it's treifa or nevela. So they're arguing about the statement of Rav Huna about behema bechayeha bechezkas iser omedes, that while a behema is alive, it is bechezkas being alive, right? And therefore, if it's alive, it's aser. Ad sheyodea lecha bam, right? Bameh nishchata. I'm sorry, or ad sheyodea lecha. Until you know what, right? Until you know that the animal has been shechted. And the only way for you to know that the animal has been shechted is to check the simanim. So for instance, the animal can be dead, but you didn't cut the simanim properly.
Right.
Yep.
Right? Happens all the time.
Yep.
Right? Happens all the time.
So you haven't checked the chazaka doesn't change at that point.
Not until you check.
The
Meaning
chazaka
the animal's
doesn't.
dead, right?
The animal is dead. It is dead as a doorknob.
It's dead as a doorknob. But is the chazaka still that it's alive, or the
No.
chazaka is just that it's
No,
a
No, the
not
chazaka
kosher.
is that it's
an avela, or
it's that
Still
it's
forbidden.
correct.
okay.
Right? Right? It's either a treifa or a nevela. Right? That's in other words, the halacha is that of course the animal is dead.
Right.
Right? There's no longer, you're looking at the animal lying on the ground. It's not breathing. Right? Nobody is saying, chazaka is that it's still alive. In other words, we know at this point that the chazaka has stopped. Right? But the chazaka has stopped in a way that's not permissible for us. In other words, it's gone from a chezkas, it's gone from a chazaka of alive, it's gone to an isser.
So what would it be? It would be, let's say you shecht it, but you didn't check.
You could have
So would you assume it's a nevela until you check, and then it's either treifa or kosher?
Well, so that's the question. How long do you have to check? Guys, what do you have?
Ideally,
How long do you have to check?
Pretty much right away. Once the
Almost
pirka stops.
But let's say you didn't check right
when the
away.
pirka
You
stops.
could wait. You could wait, but you'd have a problem if you found something questionable. So if you knew the Pirkos
Right.
was somewhat violent and you have a question.
Maybe it tore the
you did-
simanim or
yeah,
something
so
like
you
that.
could have a problem.
you
Okay.
go for a greater rove.
Okay,
Right, but you
so
want a much greater
Maybe like
role.
60.
okay,
66%.
so you know what, we're gonna stop here because we're entering into the. Remember, for next week we're gonna figure out what's the machlokes between whether it's a treifa or a nevela. Guys, I hope that this worked out for you. If it did, send me an email and let me know. If it didn't, make sure you come next week to share. Okay.
This is from Big
You did get it.
Okay.
Yeah, I ordered it from Amazon.
Are we done?
What did you order?
He wants it on the
Ah,
nice.
you ordered
What is
it.
that?
This is
You want also the nice paper, right?
The nice
And
paper.
Leo, you want nice paper also.
Right, so the Nevela is one that didn't go under through
Wait,
a proper
that's only one piece of paper, Simon?